Welcome to In Pursuit 360, and here we go. You have made it through the interview process, the application process, you've made it through the academy, and you're getting ready to go to FTO, field training, right? Field training officer, field training program. Yay, good job. All right, and so you want to know what it's like to go through FTO, what to expect on day one, and maybe some things to keep in mind as you're going through. And that's what this series is about. This is the FTO series, and let's get rolling. All right, welcome back to In Pursuit 360 again. All right, here we go, FTO. So you've made it through everything else. You've graduated from the academy, and they have told you to report on Monday, the whatever, second shift or whatever. Roll call starts at 1400 hours. Be a little early. Now you're going to go to FTO training, field training. And there are two different kinds of programs with that, right? There's, field training officer, and I think they call it PTO. I'm not as familiar with that one, but it's like just a different approach in how you teach. It's almost like it's kind of like a teach back system. But anyway, field training is field training, really. The goal is the same. The goal is to take that generic academy training that you have, even if it was an agency-specific academy. They can't teach you all the variables, right? Not even FTO can teach you all the variables, but it gets you that real in-the-field experience of applying everything you've learned into day-to-day operations out on the street. So that's what field training does for you, right? So on that first day, what should you expect? What should you do? Well, first, they should have already helped you out in the academy. Make sure your uniform is squared away. Make sure that everything looks good, it's pressed out, it's ready to go, your belt's put together properly. They should help you with all of that before you even get out of the academy. If you're going through a regional academy, you may want to make sure that before you report that does your agency have a specific way that the belt is set up? Sometimes the regional academies will kind of let you do your thing because all the different departments that participate in that regional academy do things differently, so they don't really say anything. Sometimes some of the regional academies will make sure that you are setting up the way your department wants you to. It just kind of depends. So you really need to make sure to go out of your way that you know how your belt needs to be set up. So you're going to have your uniform good to go, shoes are clean, uniform pressed, belt squared away. Make sure you have all your gear. Don't forget anything like, I don't know, your gun. Honest engine story. It was probably my third or fourth day in field training, and my FTO looked over at me and goes, "Hey, where's your gun?" Like, what? I looked down, and sure enough, I left my damn gun at home. I left my gun at home. It was my second or third day. You want to talk about embarrassing? He's like, "Don't let anybody see it." So I sat there with my arm covering my holster, and we leave out of the office, and sure enough, the very first call we went on was a domestic in progress, assault in progress. It's like, oh no, and there I am with no gun. So anyway, he takes me back to my house because we had to live in the county we worked in. I got my gun, and it never ever happened again, but it happened to others. I'm telling you, you think it's funny that I say this, don't forget your gun. It happens, okay? All right, so you're geared up, you're ready to go, everything's squared away, you go in. Your first few days with your field training officer are going to be, let's get to know each other type thing. It's really, you're not going to do a lot. You're going to be probably riding in the passenger seat of the cruiser. He'll ask you some generic questions like, "Oh, hey, you got a family? So what do you do for fun? Why'd you get into law enforcement? Where do you think you want to go while you're here?" It's going to be those kind of things. It's going to be very generic. You'll go to a couple of calls or whatever, make a couple traffic stops. He's probably going to tell you to stay in the car, or he'll tell you to get out and just stay back by the rear fender or by the trunk or whatever, and just listen. Right? Do everything your FTO tells you to do. Don't piss them off. Don't try to get ahead of the curve. I don't even care if you come from another department somewhere. do what your FTO tells you to do. Your FTO needs to kind of learn who you are and how you operate to see how he is or she is going to adapt their teaching style to you to help you out the best they can. So if you sit there and you're trying to do things ahead of time, what they're going to figure out is that you think you know it all already, and they're going to get flustered with you really quick, and they're probably going to come down on you a little hard and try to reel you in and hold you back a little bit. So your first day or two or three or four is going to be a get to know you phase. So be prepared for that. Don't expect that you're going to just walk out of the academy and you're just suddenly going to be free to go on the street and you're just going to start tearing things up and locking up bad guys. You're going to take time. Your FTO is going to take time to get to know you. They want to get to know you, and then they're going to break you in really slow. But your first day or two is nothing but, hey, how you doing? Who are you? This is me. And that's going to be pretty much it. That's it. Sergeant will probably say hi. Here's the other key. On your first day or first few days, and quite honestly, probably for about your first year, keep your mouth shut. You are not one of, I'm going to say, you're not one of the guys. You're not one of the fellas. You're not one of the squad. You're the new guy. You are the FNG. If you don't know what FNG is, Google it, because I'm not going to say it, because then they might, credit or go up against my video. So you're the FNG. Keep quiet. Do not walk in there like you are everybody's buddy and you've known them for years. Go in there, be quiet, sit off on the side or wherever it is they tell you to sit, and listen. Listen and watch. Listen and learn. Take the time to hear what people are saying and how they're interacting with each other. Then over time, when you're invited, then you can step in and start joining in some of the fun. All right, but in the meanwhile, when you're brand new, don't go in there and think that you can just mouth off to whoever you want, or if you end up finishing up a call somewhere and the other officer starts running their mouth, that you can just jump in there and say whatever you want. You need to be quiet, figure out your place, and work your way in slow, okay? Nothing pisses officers off more than the new guy that comes in there just thinking they're one of the crew and that they can just say whatever they want, because there's like everybody needs to learn everybody, okay? It's not an instant. It's no different than when you go to work at any other job, to be honest with you. Whether it be a retail store or a computer programming company or whatever, nobody likes that new guy that just comes in spouting off like they've been there for 10 years, because they don't know who you are. You got to give them a chance, okay? So that's kind of what your first day or two of FTO is going to be all about. Just go in, meet your FTO, meet your supervisor. They'll tell you how the FTO process works, how long is it going to be. Some places do like a 2-week rotation. Some places it's like a 3 or 4 week rotation. Some don't do a rotation at all. When I first started, when you were with your FTO, that's the FTO you had the whole time. But we rotated shifts, so I'd work, week of days, week of evenings, week of nights, week of days, week of evenings, week of nights, and then I stayed with the FTO the same, the whole way through. But then before I left, they were rotating the FTO, so every 3 to 4 weeks, you'd stay with one FTO for 3 or 4 weeks, and then you'd rotate to a different FTO in a different shift, and then a different FTO for a different shift, and then it was up to that third FTO to release you. Some places will actually put you back with the first FTO so they can evaluate how did you do on your first, your first set, and then how are you now that it's like 6, 8, 9, 12 weeks later. So everybody does it a little bit different. They'll tell you how that system works. Don't fear it. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. You are not expected to know everything off the bat. FTO is learning how to apply what you've learned in the academy to how things actually are on the street. The academy is very safe, it's very structured, it's very organized. The street is not that way, and you need to be able to be on the street and be confronted with something and make a decision just like that. You need to be able to go, oh, I know that this law applies, this policy applies, so I do this. And you got to know it quick, just like that, right? Just, okay, know what to do. And you only get that not just from the knowledge you gain from the academy, but what your FTO is going to teach you about how to understand, how to apply it on the street when that instant comes up. Okay? So that's the job of the FTO. That's the idea of the FTO program, is being able to apply all those generics that you learn throughout the academy and apply them on the street quickly, safely, and properly. Okay? So there you go. That's our first video in our FTO series, and we're going to keep on going with this along with the other series that we've got rolling right now, and some other ones that are coming up in the future. So if you have any interest in being a supervisor, a sergeant, or a first sergeant, or however the rank structure works there, or maybe a K-9 officer, or a SWAT officer, or a field training officer, or something like that, I'm going to put together a series on those too, on how to interview for those positions and things that you can do to prepare for those positions, okay? So yeah, all right, here we go. That's it. So the first FTO video is done. Do me a favor, again, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification. You'll know when the next video comes out so we can keep going with our learning together. And again, give me that thumbs up. Helps with the algorithm. If you have to, give me the thumbs down, but please tell me why. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know if you have any other comments to help the channel out and help your fellow people out there that are going into law enforcement. In the meanwhile, I wish you the best of luck, and as always, be safe out there.